What does that say about our country? So I think for us to deal with this issue conclusively, we must tackle primarily the issue of corruption, and there is no better person. I've heard us talk about that report of IGG.
Yes,
trying
to investigate, yeah.
And I want to say this with due respect, that all those reports are good for probably people putting on nice suits, wearing nice earrings and coming off flying, nice hair. For the case of women, for us, we just cut malako. But for women who do the curlies and what, all those are good for conferences. Yes. But if we want to deal with the real issues, which the office should be doing, is to tackle this. The corruption in this country in relation to accidents is the major cause. Actually, I wonder why the police didn't put it in their statistics. I'm seeing human error, I'm seeing weather. What the hell? Weather? Which weather? Let's be honest. Let's be honest. The major cause, if on a scale of 100, 99.99999 is corruption. Because if everything was working in the right direction, if systems were straight out there, I think we wouldn't be having such. Imagine a situation where if Philomena, you hit a light, you need to pay 1 million shillings.
Yes.
Kirabo here is a rider. Let's imagine a border rider is carrying 3 people and they have to pay 700,000 shillings. You pay it once, you pay it twice. When you think you can do that again? But because if they get a Kirabo, 5,000, he has the change. The man got change before he set off. So, for me, I think the top of the story of the scale out of 100, it's not even those things of human error, mania, DMCs. I think for us, it's corruption. And if we are able to sort that, it's worked elsewhere in the world. We can try it.
Yeah, there was, by the way, an initiative, I don't know how far it ended, to have, are they called body cams?
Yes,
cameras,
for the
that police officers have them. And they keep monitoring every time. This in some countries has helped.
Absolutely.
In some countries has helped. And I don't know why you don't embrace such a move, because corruption...
Probably the cost.
Probably maybe the cost. But I think our country, we've invested so much in certain things. If we can get billions invest in that and that, then why not this that is going to help most in the traffic department? Because for me, I believe that most of the accidents that we call accidents in Uganda are not accidents.
Yes.
An accident should be, I hope my pastor is not offended, an accident should be an act of God.
It's unexpected. You don't
like you're driving, then maybe accident. Somehow a tree falls in the middle of the road and you're driving at recommended speed at that time. Maybe a goat, a cow, or something like that.
Even that is avoidable.
Even maybe that is avoidable.
Why doesn't the owner of the goat tie it? Why is a goat in the road? I mean,
but anyway.
But what we're having in Uganda, someone is setting off and says, these brakes, I pray I get to my destination.
Yes.
You know, this car has braking issues. This car, the wipers are not working, it is raining, I may have visibility issues.
But let me ask Robert, what happened to Kawunyemu?
We had Kawunyemu, we had
what happened
traffic,
to the Kawunyemu?
I can give you the true reality of what happened to Kawunyemu. Yes. By then, Lawrence Niwabine was the commandant, Kampala Metropolitan Traffic Officer. He's now the director of traffic. When he launched Kawunyemu, remember they were targeting joints coming from the bar. He was summoned to come to Parliament and explain.
Explain what?
Why he was carrying out that operation. I remember this because I covered that. Yes.
Is that possible?
It is possible. He came on the floor of Parliament. And I remember, you know, one time I arrested the MP, I think was called Chamadidi, forgotten his other name. He was extremely drunk. He acted very funny, very weird. And he was arresting big, you know what we call big shots in this country. So, and he was detaining them. He says for drunken driving, we cannot allow you to continue. You stay in the cell. So many VIPs were being arrested. He was summoned to Parliament.
So many VIPs are drunk.
And he was told to end that because they said it was embarrassing. It was degrading people. People are being manhandled. You know, arresting a drunkard is not easy.
Yes.
No,
they have this
get
kind
out
of
your
energy
car.
that is
Yeah, and
very
so
hard to deal with.
some
I have
want to
seen
run.
traffic police
Come on.
try
Yes.
to deal with drunk people. By the way,
Really?
it's a very hard paper.
Yeah, some are pulling
Yes,
out
I have.
pistols.
I've
I'm a
witnessed it.
VIP. Some, and of course, our police, they are very energetic. You want to run, they would lift these VIPs, throw them, then drive them to one day or whatever. So the man was summoned and told to suspend. I remember having an interview with him, Lawrence Niwabini. Our big shots were being embarrassed, and he had to stop it. Or even they threatened his position.
Yes.
So this is how far moral fabric has, because if I'm a member of parliament, I'm not the likes of Mr. Chama did, because it is on record. For him, he even threatened said, honorable, please behave. So Kawunyemu was suspended because of that, and now you can do it at a less scale where you get. Okay,
So Robert, what you're saying that the interventions we are coming in with are selective. They are for a certain kind of people or a certain group of people, and then they are the untouchables.
No, we are still in the animal farm, if you didn't know. Because this is what happens. We are talking of accidents today.
Yes.
You've talked about 8 or 9 people that died over the weekend.
Yes.
God forbid, I'm not a prophet of doom. If there was a member of parliament or a VVIP who had perished in those accidents, I want to tell you, you would see what is on the floor of parliament today. So here there are certain problems in this country, as long as they don't concern some people.
Yes.
And I want to remind our people that God has put in those positions. One time there was...
Some of them have put themselves there.
Okay, some have put themselves there.
Don't accuse God for his feet.
One time in this country, there was a man, he was working in KCCA. He was at, I think, enforcement something. That man, there was a shooting in Ruzira that happened sometime. So he went through, and of course, he died in a motor accident. And when people came, they didn't know that he was. So they took him to hospital anyhow. By the time they discovered that, hey, this is the person related to so and so, the other had to be airlifted. I want to tell you, let's discuss issues that concern everybody. Because we see buses, taxis. But the way we are handling issues of accidents in this country, I think we've not given them the priority, we've not given that issue the priority that is due. But Kawunyemu,
yes. But we also had operations like Fika
said,
Salama. You'd wonder where these operations went. What happened? They came in with a lot of energy. But
conflict
right now,
of interest. You're going to have Fika Salama. Who own most of these matatus? Let me tell you, some of these things is conflict of interest. You want to handle borders, you don't know how many people are lending these boys these motorcycles. You begin taxis, matatus, you don't know. Here we have a person who says the entire massacre is dominated by 4 people owning taxis there. So it is about the big man saying, hold them.
well, Felix, the way forward.
Well, for me, I think our major focus should continue to be on implementable government policy. I believe that government, being the custodian of leadership and administration in the country, it must find a solution. It must. And I'm using that word technically. It must find a way forward. And definitely the problems are known. Now we must get to the solutions. And the confines of this do not even lie in the ambits of Parliament as an institution. These are problems we look at together as a country, as a society. There are things we can avoid together. There are things we can work towards together. I've seen societies and communities put an effort to end some of the bad practices. Why don't we start with this? For example, people who are white lights, traffic lights. Even as society, what's your role? You're sitting in a car, a taxi.
Yes.
They're driving you like potato, and you're all
you're
there.
just silent about it.
Oh yeah, you're just enjoying. Some of the people even are saying, "Yeah, take over." You're part of the problem. Now, when you sit in a taxi, you have a role, you have a stake at that point.
You see a traffic officer, they tell you move out from here to Basangeri Maso.
Can you imagine who does that?
You move out, you
You're going
disembark,
a border. I see 4 people sitting on a border. They're all adults. Now, but honestly, the person riding, what control do they have on a border that has 4 people Even wind can throw them down.
Actually, if you look at them, they are not even seated.
They are squatting on each other, literally. Like, so basically, I think we should just take a bit of responsibility on our own selves. I think as people, before even we get to government, before we get to parliament, before we get to all these kind of things, let us have some responsibility. Sit in a taxi, tell the driver, I think you're driving bad. You know, man, we don't have spare lives, we don't have spare arms. Some of us have lost family because of accidents. We have lost a great deal. And most of these buses, you sit in a bus, the guy is driving anyhow. Tell them, if they can't be better, get the hell out of the bus.
Yes.
So let's take a bit of responsibility as members of this country, as members, people who use these public roads, as we wait for government and parliament if they ever assist in this problem.
Okay, well, Robert, your parting shots.
Everyone on the road is insane. You're the only sane person. And you're their savior. And you're their savior. Have that at the back of your mind.
But you also literally have to be sane, because there are people who actually have the mentality. Have you interacted with the drunk person? They believe they are sin.
And
so
if
what's with you people and drunk?
And I want to tell you, if you feel you're not in that good mood of driving, in case you drive, please don't. I've seen people behind the wheels and they don't even know which road they are taking. They're like, but then again, if you have so much on your head, instead of perishing,
that's so true.
Get a cab, get a safe board,
or walk,
and I'm meaning, or walk if you can. The days you wake up and you find a person, you've lost a relative, you've lost a mother, you're driving around town, weeping, then twalabirango. Psychological driving has a connection with your mental status. You're drunk maybe, and then you're driving. And one time police had said to put cabs around bars. But amid they take you at your own cost, then tomorrow you pick your car. So we must be very sensitive. Life has no spare parts.
I had to say this.
A moment will take you forever, and those remaining will suffer. You're the only sane person, but be sane. The rest are not.
Philo, I just want to say this because time is over,
yes,
so you don't have to say anything. One of the other, we should add on those percentages are women. Causes, no causes.
This is a conversation.
The way they drive.
The way they drive.
Oh,
this is a conversation we are going to be having another day.
But even some the way they dress, seated in front of a car.
Well, I want to remind you of the poll question that we are running on our socials, this gentleman, and that is, how best can we reduce the number of accidents on our Ugandan roads? What do you think can be done to reduce road accidents in Uganda? That is the question. And I mean, go, sit, think about it so hard, okay? And of course, you as an individual, self-discipline is very important. It's very crucial, as we have discovered, especially on the roads. You are not the only road user. Don't be very selfish. And there is a lot of patience that you need to also exert well there. We're going in for the dailies to see what's making the big headlines in all our papers. And of course, we'll be still continuing with Good Morning Uganda.
Football packages, great entertainment,
sports, the local content, telenovela, the movies.
There is something for everybody.
Everybody,
Go TV.
this is where great stories live.
Get the best entertainment for any budget. With GoTV, you will have great entertainment for as little as 13,000 Ugandan shillings per month. GoTV, great stories, Zidiwano. GoTV Uganda, love it.
Enjoy more GBs for the same price on Airtel. Kirabo using to Gabane. We have increased GBs across all your favorite packs. Now, 4 GB is at 10,000 shillings and 10.5 GB at 22,500 shillings, all valid for a week. For the heavy data users, enjoy 24 GB at 50,000 shillings and 50 GB at 100,000 shillings, all valid for a month. Dial *175# or use the My Airtel app to buy these and more affordable weekly and monthly data bundles on Airtel, the smartphone network.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, it's about that time when we look at the big stories in our dailies, and of course we're starting off with the Daily Monitor. This morning, government to give loans to students of arts. Well, at least something good is really happening to our students of the arts subjects, and well, government is really going in on that one. Of course, they are definitely they've been offering the loans to students studying the STEM courses in an ambitious plan to show absences, but they've also made the policy shift, and it's going to be benefiting even the arts subjects. While still in more news, we're looking at Ginger residents who are protesting over high fuel and other commodity prices because you know the high cost of living that we are all witnessing. And the picture shows you some residents burning tires in the roads over there. And of course, police came in to make sure that they intervene when they still had the time. In more news, Museveni vaccine case against a Daily Monitor resumes. This is also a story that you need to catch up on. And Lukwago runs to court in fight over border registration. And of course, there is quite a number of tenders for you. And the rainbow pullout for your baby, well, should be interesting. Now, progressing on to the second page, we're looking at the archives, and we're looking at some three great men over there. And I'm talking about the Gabon President Omar Bongo, Kenya's Uhuru Kenyatta, and President Museveni during the opening of the Anti-Poaching Giants Club Summit meeting. This was in Kenya around 2016. Now, in history, Mandela accompanies Queen Elizabeth II on a coach drive. Was such a monumental time. And again in history, the US creates Medal of Honor. The year was 1862. So yeah, grab yourself the paper this morning and catch up on all these stories and many more.
Well, we cross over to the New Vision, where we see State House to skill 7,200 youth per year. That is a detailed story on page 3 of the New Vision. But also in the New Vision, local government declines to pick new accounting officers. And of course, that is also detailed on page 6 of the New Vision. The big headline right there, government releases shillings 10 trillion and shillings 661 billion reserved to clear domestic areas. That is a story on page 7 of the New Vision. They also give you a big picture right there. Museveni flags off team to the Commonwealth and World Athletics competition. Of course, with some of the Olympic medalists there, Joshua Cheptegei receiving the Ugandan flag. And we do know they will make us proud. That is the detailed story on page 56, of course, posing with the First Lady right there and Honorable Minister for Sports right there. But also in the New Vision, page 4, train accident victim was about to graduate. They give you more details right there on page 4. Bobby Wine attacks MPs over shillings 40 million. And that is also a story on page 11 of the New Vision. Crossing over to the second page, Terence Howard tours the Pearl of Africa. Of course, they show you a picture right there of him and his wife posing right there as they are posing with Frank Tumwebaze, Minister Frank Tumwebaze. And of course, the New Vision also gives you opportunities. If you know this man, I think Philomena, he's an actor in The Empire, the famous series of the Empire movies. I think a lot of Africans loved this series because of Terence Howard. And of course, his acting. Well, they give you details about his tour in Uganda right there. But also opportunities as Muslims are urged to embrace the parish development model and fighting poverty. That is also right there. Today in history, back in 1993, Kategaya hails Burundi. And of course, also getting you back to 1993, same day, Somalis kill 2 journalists. And of course, those are details for you in the New Vision Sport, the New Vision for today.
Looking at the Daily Monitor sports stories, expectant Museveni flags off teams, and well, he's really over there holding the Uganda flag, flagging off the people. So, well, you need to know which team, where are they going, what are they going to do, what are they going to represent us in, and well, we cannot give you all the details. Uganda edge Hong Kong in KG affair, and of course still New York Red Bulls delighted in Serwada. This was actually trending on Twitter, and Ugandans were really proud of our man. I love the way Ugandans are really nationalistic and very supportive, especially when there are people out there representing. Black Ship inspiration lifts Akanya. This is also another story that you need to get a hang of. And they're also giving you the ICC T20 World Cup qualifier, showing you the results of how several countries that are taking part are performing. Well, all that in the Daily Monitor sports section for this Tuesday.
Now, the New Vision Sport also starts off with the story where Museveni is flagging off the she cranes, and of course posing with the vice captain right there, Joan Nampungu, receiving the national flag from President Museveni. And of course, to the left, of course, the Honorable Minister of Education and Sport, Minister Janet Museveni. Inside the New Vision Sport, the new Red Bull. And of course, like Philomena said, the Ugandans are good with support. So that's where our hearts are now. My blessings to you. And of course, as Uganda's World Athletic Championship team was also flagged off yesterday. And right there, the president giving them his blessings. Inside the New Vision Sport, also Serwada is now in a big bowl. Of course, details on that. Nations changers are the unstoppable primary kids. They also give you into the action between the nation changers and the Watoto team as they look at basketball league in the country.
Well, make sure that you grab all the copies of the Daily Monitor and the New Vision to catch up on all those stories and many more. But also to remind you of our poll question, that is how we can be able to reduce the number of accidents on Ugandan roads. What do you think can be done to reduce road accidents in Uganda? The hashtag is UBCGMU, and you can use 0709602592 to tell us what you think by sending us an SMS text or even a WhatsApp message. We'll definitely be looking at your feedback. Well, but also taking you to our neighbors over there in Kenya. In the Daily Nation, there is a lot indeed happening, and I must say that seeing that we are on the countdown, of course, to see who their next president will be, I must say there is quite a lot of conversations, a lot of a few divisions here and there. But taking you to the poll, Raila leads as Ruto narrows gap. Now they're showing you the percentages, looking at 39% and 42% for Ruto and Raila respectively. Now, candidates defend their plans for Nairobi in fiery fast debate, and fireworks at Sakaja Igathe City face off. Still telling you all that. Well, I must say it's getting hotter and hotter. And others, of course, in the government race, they're showing you the pictures, you know, the portraits of the people fully in glamour to rule Nairobi. And of course, it was billed as the biggest television event of the night. And it didn't disappoint. I must tell you the debate was hot. Looking at 27 days of Uhuru on the cross. Still another story that you need to catch up on this morning from the Daily Nation. Well, get that paper and catch up on all that and more. But also taking you to the roads here in Uganda and in Kampala, to starting off from areas of Boyogere, crossing over to Chireka and all the way to Banda, Nakawa, Lugogo as you're heading into the city center. I really want to start off with Boyogere, which is very busy this morning, and the road is actually decorated in reds and oranges, showing you that the traffic in these specific areas are actually very heavy and the traffic is actually building up. If you're coming in from areas like this one, showing you the junction here is very busy, and we have very many road users that that are trying to make sure that they get to the city center, of course, using that specific road. Now, of course, as you proceed onto Chireka using the bypass, which shouldn't be a problem. However, as you're getting into the city center of Chireka, you need to expect very heavy traffic. The red lines here show you that either when you're leaving or when you're getting into the city center trying to access, you won't survive this traffic over here. We also have cars coming in from Namgongo Road, which we also know that will help you join, and that could also be building up on the traffic. But we also do have Kamuli Road over here, where we have some more motorists coming in, and Kamuli Road for this morning is really just not so heavy. Of course, a few hiccups here and there where the traffic is building up, as shown by this orange spot. Of course, it takes you to the main road here, and of course you also find yourself at Chireka, the business center over here, which is also very heavy with traffic. However, if you manage to navigate all the way as you continue on this Kampala-Jinja highway, it shouldn't be a big problem because it's a little bit free this morning. But as you're getting to Banda, especially the taxi stage, and also where we have cars coming in from Banda Close, you need to expect some traffic over here, and it's portrayed by the red stretch. This red stretch shows you that this is quite a very busy area at this given moment. So yes, do expect that, and the traffic buildup keeps on growing as you go on all the way, of course, as you're trying to join Nakawa. Nakawa, on the other hand, I must say that it's not really any different from Bwegere. Matter of fact, it's actually very busy. There is a traffic build-up. There are some areas that are already heavy with the traffic. So it makes sense, though, because as you're trying to come in from a really heavily trafficked a spot that is already building up with traffic, the chances that you will proceed into a place that is already heavy with the traffic. So that is something you also need to expect this morning. Kampala-Jinja Highway, for the most part of it, after that a specific area, it shouldn't be a very hard area for you to navigate. However, when you get into the city center and of course around Ministry of Internal Affairs, there is a lot of chaos you must expect. We have cars coming in from Wampel Avenue, we have cars coming in from Old Port Bear Road and trying to get to this roundabout, as of course they're trying to find the final destinations. And like every single morning, it's not really that easy to navigate, but you need to be very patient on the road. And as you can see, the traffic also still continues to build up in several parts of this area. We have cars coming in from Yusuf Lude Road as well. Here we have cars coming in from Station Road, and of course trying to get to the city center and join the Kampala Road as well. So if you're coming in from these areas, if this is your usual route every single morning, well, it shouldn't come in as a surprise, but always have an alternative route. But again, like I always tell you, every single morning, you need to be very patient on the road. We just had a discussion about road accidents that are really taking a toll. 89 people in a span of 2 days is not a number that you can just joke around. We have to be very disciplined on the roads as individuals. We don't have to wait for the traffic police to come in. We don't even have to wait for the government to come in. You just have to be disciplined as a road user. I believe like that we'll be able to cut down on the number of accidents that do happen in Uganda. Matter of fact, some of them are actually not accidental. We see them, but we are tone deaf. That's it from the traffic updates. I want to let Mollen do her thing this morning, and I don't know how it's going to be, whether we are going to be facing quite some serious sun or we are going to be facing some serious rains. Although the rains would come in, I'm pretty sure that the dust would also still surpass. For the last couple of hours, Mollen, the heat.
Yeah.
It's despicable.
I would say it's too early to complain, but again, I don't want to say anything serious is going on because it seems like most of these weather conditions are actually expected for this time of the year. So we just have to deal with it. And guess what? Until September, that is when we expect second major rainy season to kick in.
So this is our Ugandan summer.
Yeah, it is.
Well, that's it from the traffic updates. Mollen now officially takes over to give you more from climate and, of course, the weather news. Good morning. I am Philomena Mastiko.
Well, I'll take it from there. And this morning we were reading a story on the warning that has been issued out by the UK Met Office. Now, this is the kind of warning that they're actually calling the number alert. for the second time. This warning has actually been issued out only twice, and this is the second time they're issuing it. And of course, that is for extreme heat as they go through one of the dangerous heat waves across the UK. And of course, what is coming out from the Met Office, they're saying that this amber alert is coming in as temperatures look to be building up, and also for much of England and Wales. Of course, this was issued on Sunday, highlighting adverse health effects that will be associated with this kind of weather, and of course the most vulnerable groups to these extreme heat. Now, temperatures, they are saying the forecast does indicate that temperatures could be going to upper 30s from 35 degrees Celsius in the southwest, and of course widely expected to be crossing over at least on an average of 32 degrees Celsius within the warning area. And of course, we've seen the UK issue a lot of alerts when it comes to heat waves and extreme weather events. But giving a number alert at this level, this is something that they are worried about. And for them, 35 at this time of the year is really, really a huge number. And of course, that could prompt a lot of health effects, which is why the warning comes in time. And of course, that puts things into perspective as regard to how they will be handling most of the areas that are going to be affected. Now, that also came in as one of the teenagers lost their lives as they were trying to swim. And of course, with all this extreme heat, a lot of events are expected to happen. Now, this comes as a warning, of course, that will help to, for people to be aware of what is happening. Now, the UK is not the only country dealing with extreme weather events, and specifically for heat waves. We did see more stories coming through yesterday. That is, of course, coming from what you can do in cases where you have extreme weather events, specifically looking at heat waves. And I know there is a rising, need for people to have sunscreens and hats. This is something that does help with the weather. It's not just about the beauty of your skin, but does help with such events. Of course, taking more water and seeking shade in terms of, and I think we could also borrow this as we're talking about the heat across Kampala and across Uganda. It's a time when we're going through some kind of dry season. We could also use a little bit of sunscreen and of course take shade where you can. Do not be out there in the sun. If you must, have a hat, and also always keep water with you. But also, one other country that is dealing with heat waves, you are seeing the US also issue out more warnings coming through, of course, as higher temperatures are expected to go over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And of course, that has been issued for most areas within Texas, as they're looking at a hot summer as well. Now, because this is faced every year, they're saying every summer in Texas is hot. However, this time it is hotter than it's hot. That's the record-breaking kind of sentence that is coming across. Of course, they are forecasting that this could also be thought to be one of the hottest season on record so far across Texas. And of course, the Center for Climate Studies is also looking into this. And sadly, they're saying all the models were accurate, forecasting this as one of the hottest summers across Texas. And of course, areas of Dallas already topping to the 100 degrees Fahrenheit that is across the area. And this is only expected to rise as, the summer continues. And now we're seeing that most countries are actually breaking records in terms of extreme weather events, which is why we're still looking forward to all the gaps to be filled, especially when we're talking about climate action. Now, away from that, we also continue to see more that is coming through for most of the areas that have been going through high wildfires. And of course, Portugal is one of them. This is a follow-up story on what we did yesterday. Now, that is also likely to be connected to the temperatures over Portugal. Now, temperatures have been rising, and because of that, this has prompted a lot of wildfires. Of course, that is also fueled by the strong winds across the area. That is what is bringing out the wildfires. And of course, now they are saying that most of the areas have been affected, and of course, evacuations were also ongoing, but temperatures are already at 104 degrees Fahrenheit, meaning that this is enough to actually prompt evacuation. That is, of course, amounting to 40 degrees Celsius. Now, that kind of weather will obviously lead into wildfires, especially for an area that has already been dry. This is an area that did have a drought crisis earlier. And of course, officials are saying that people are reluctant to move, and it's hard to force them out. But at this rate, this has to be something that is forced. And of course, it is also, hitting record temperatures, because they are looking at this being compared to the last one they had, that is in 2003, which was 47.3 degrees centigrade, but so far the temperatures could actually reach 47 degrees Celsius, meaning that it's just 0.3 degrees away from breaking that record from 2003. We are only seeing events that are actually crossing over what we knew had happened in the past. That can only tell you that these variations are actually serious, getting into, you know, human-induced climate change that has, of course, prompted all these droughts, extreme wildfires, and of course to the heat waves and the flooding that is dealt with almost on a daily across different places. Now, talking about flooding, we're also continuing to look into the story of the Palestinian, the flooding that has been coming out across Pakistan and India. And of course, these are areas that have been worst hit by floods so far this year, looking at those being fueled by the monsoon winds. Now, what is coming across is that people are actually starting to live with these floods. If you can see a picture right there that is fronted of a man holding his child, sitting comfortably, because they don't feel like this is something that is going away. They are learning to live with a situation, because this area has been worst hit by flooding. And of course, talking about the southern province of Pakistan. And of course, the forecasts are also indicating that monsoon rains are continuing. That will be through August into September. So of course, people are finding ways to live with that, even when it's against the warnings, because the forecast did come out and they were warned to vacate most of these places that are likely to be flooded, because at any time it could get worse. So it's not wise to stay across areas that torrential rains are still going on, and it could actually get more flooding over the area. Now, so far we do know that one person has been confirmed dead. That is from that southern province of Pakistan, of course, due to this flooding, and that adds on to the total that we did see even earlier on the number of deaths so far across Pakistan just last month. Well, also moving on from that, we want to come back home here and take a look at the weather that is happening across the country. We'll be tapping in from our satellites, that is across the units satellites overlooking Uganda. It looks like we're starting off with quite some pleasant weather. We have beautiful sun coming through across most areas within the country. We do have a little bit of clouds that are starting to develop across the northern parts of the country. Of course, this is well welcome, and because we have been dealing with a lot of high temperatures, especially for northern Uganda and the Karamoja region. So when the clouds come in, we do hope that they will keep those temperatures a little bit down. And of course, we do have some rainy systems that are starting to develop. That is across Lake Victoria. That could be bringing us rains later today. That is the good news, actually. It might be crossing over. That will be into the eastern parts of Lake Victoria, and of course some of that might be spilling into the central region, parts of Kampala, Mukono, Jinja. We might be looking at even some of those rains crossing over into areas of the eastern part of central. Now, where you see some of those red to green colors, that's the system that I'm talking about, already tending westwards. That could also be developing later in the day. We do have some cloudy conditions also developing across southwestern Uganda, Bara right there, and some of those blue colors indicating that we do have clouds that are developing over the area, and most likely will be bringing us a little bit of rains over there. And of course, that will also keep the temperatures down. Now, the bad news is that most areas within the central part of the country towards eastern Uganda as well right now, dealing with mostly sunny weather, a repeat of what we had yesterday. So that cannot look good in terms of temperatures. But again, there is hope that maybe later, as most of these systems continue to develop, we might be seeing a little bit of rains coming through for most of these areas. Western Uganda continues with mostly cloudy weather, and most of that will be developing into rainy conditions, but also later as we head towards evening. But for now, it looks like it's mostly going to be intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions. But we'll go ahead and take a look at our forecast. Of course, that is coming in from the Uganda National Meteorological Authority, to take a look at those numbers as well. We start off with the central part of northern Uganda, where we are forecasting light showers. Those will be starting off with quite a cool 26 degrees centigrade. We do expect some of those systems to stick around even for later in the afternoon. Now we look at the western side of Lake Victoria, dealing with mostly a mix of clouds and sunshine for much of this morning, starting off with quite a beautiful 26 degrees centigrade. And also that area is expected to develop rainy conditions, but that will be later as we head towards evening. Across southwestern Uganda, we continue with a mix of clouds and sunshine, starting off with 26 degrees centigrade. Those numbers expected to get up in the afternoon. We could be looking at still upper 20s for that area. Now across Mount Elgon Highlands, that is where we have Mbale, Bududa, Buko, Sironko, we're forecasting isolated showers. Those will be coming in at quite a cool 23 degrees centigrade for this morning. We expect some of those rains to also cross over into the afternoon. Now we look at the eastern side of Lake Victoria, where we have Tororo, Busia, Iganga and Jinja. We are forecasting light showers. Those will also be starting off with a cool 25 degrees centigrade, and that system is already developing over there. That will only also be crossing over into the afternoon, especially for areas that are close to the lake. Now across eastern Uganda, that is where we have Soroti, Katakuya, Moria and Kumi. We are forecasting light showers as well. That will be coming in at a pleasant 26 degrees centigrade for this morning, and that will be clearing later as the day goes on. Across the eastern side of Central, where we have Ruwero, Wobbly, Nziburi, Nakaseke, we already have some of those clouds that are developing over the area. We do expect those to develop into light rains, starting off with a cool 24 degrees centigrade. Now the central part of Lake Victoria, that is where we have Kampala, Entebbe, Wakiso and Mukono. We're forecasting light showers. Those will be coming in later as the morning progresses, starting off with a cool 24 degrees centigrade. And most of those systems also expected to redevelop in the afternoon. That is for most areas across Lake Victoria. And of course, that takes in the western part of the country, like I mentioned earlier, most especially the southwestern area that is also looking like we could be having more rains over there. But that will be later in the afternoon. Now, the rest of the country might be having a clearing trend in terms of, having a mix of clouds and sunshine for later today. So that is it in terms of weather. We do have Good Morning Uganda agenda coming up, but also engaged with more of our conversations. Our poll question is still running. The hashtag is UBCGMU. My name is Mollen, Kenyena. I want to wish you a wonderful day.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Every waking day is a reminder just how beautiful this, our land, truly is. The kind of beauty that you can only find here. In the lush green all around us and the wondrous sights within. It's what you feel in the gentle caress of tropical wind from the mountaintops. And the glow in your heart from a warm neighborly invite. It's in the distinct aroma of our cooking to the taste of food that takes you on a journey. In the sound of homecoming and the sound of Mother Earth. In the magnificence we find on our travels and the exciting moments we experience. Ours is the kind of beauty that comes in all things big and small. All we have to do is awaken our senses and truly enjoy what's uniquely ours. Explore Uganda, the pearl of Africa.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by Kenyena. Simply deposit 20K or more on your mobile money for a chance to win 3 Toyota Succeeds and money to 2,000 lucky winners every week. We're giving away 24 cars and over 2 billion shillings of mobile money.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Welcome to English in a Minute. A shotgun is a gun with a long barrel. It is mainly used for hunting. So, what does it mean to call shotgun?
For tomorrow's work trip, Ashley is coming with us.
I call shotgun.
You can't call shotgun.
Look, I know usually you can't call shotgun the day before a car trip, but I just did, so I'm sitting in front.
No, you're not. Ashley is driving, so her dog Dublin will be riding shotgun.
When you call shotgun, you are claiming the seat next to the driver. This expression comes from the days of the Wild West. In a covered wagon or stagecoach, the person sitting next to the driver held a shotgun. This was for protection. And that's English in a Minute.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning and thank you for keeping it with us here on UBC TV. I'm very sure now you know what the weather of the day will look like in that particular part where you are. Either to carry a cardigan or well, wear as if it is summer and enjoy that is the heat. Mollen, Kenyena does that very well. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. I'm Robert Kirabo in case you've just joined, and I'm with my colleague Felix Nkunda, with whom we are going to be discussing another issue of national interest. And this time we are talking about the border industry in this country, but to be more specific, in Kampala. Now Kampala is made up of 5 divisions. We have Rubaga, Machindye, Kawempe, Nakawa and Central, the 5 divisions that make up Kampala. And there have been attempts to regulate borders in Kampala. We once saw efforts in 2020 by Kampala Capital City Authority, and you remember the pressure there, and that was aimed at registering borders. And then we had the 2010 that never saw that see the light of day. What happened? There were protests, then the process was nullified, it all ended in a sham. Then 2013, KCCA said we will not give up. Here they gazetted stages in Kampala. They published a list and was provided to cabinet and was approved. Now this had 579 stages that were to be in Kampala in these 5 divisions, whereby Rubaga had 170 stages gazetted and approved, Nakawa 146, Machindi 136, then Kawempe had 89 stages, and Central Region had 32 stages. Because this is the CDB, the business hub, and they had said there are some areas where borders will not go, and demarcations were made. However, this also did not see the light of day. Now recently, that was on the 11th of Feb, at the media center, the State Minister for Kampala Metropolitan Affairs, Kabuye Fatogabye, came out with the new guidelines. And it was clear that by 1st July, no border rider will access Kampala without having a driving license. Borders were supposed to have jackets, reflector jackets. Each division was supposed to have its own color. The name was supposed to be there, and also very clear was there were going to be gazetted stages, each stage not exceeding 50 people in number. Here we are, none of these seems to have been implemented. And yesterday we saw a bit of bad blood between the Lord Mayor of Kampala and the RDC, that is Rubaga, where the Lord Mayor says, even if it means going to court, we are going to go because we believe this should be left in the hands of KCCA. But the minister said it was the resident district commissioners in these various divisions and that of Kampala to work on this. Now, Felix, we know that the border industry employs a number of people. Actually, in Kampala, we are told over 20,000 people are in this border industry. It's the easiest to get a job if you have a motorcycle, whether with a permit or not, because many don't have. You get a stage or you start your own stage at some busy junction. The next is tomorrow you're making money. Regulation, streamlining this industry has become a problem and almost next to impossible.
Well, first and foremost, I think in a discussion about the border industry, we must also acknowledge that this discussion has not been given the most ardent need or insight, and both by government, the private sector, and probably also even the beneficiaries directly or indirectly. I believe that the government and the bodies, let's talk about the bodies generally, in the context of this discussion, we can look at KCCA. I don't think they have had enough discussion, or they should have had discussions much more than what they're having now. Every other aspect of our society today is categorized, for example, and we categorize the border industry as an employment avenue, just as you want to categorize industrialization as an employment avenue, as you will categorize anything professional as also an employment avenue. So because of the category where we choose to place the border practitioners must inform us on the kind of discussion we must have about these border people. That's what I'm saying. For starters, I don't think we have had the right conversations or even enough conversations about our brothers doing this work, or sisters. I've not seen many sisters in this kind of work.
But there are some.
Yeah, so our brothers and sisters in the border industry. Why do I say this as a preamble? Every other conversation that is around border is a wrong conversation, because of we have failed to categorize them in the right. We're not giving it the right sense of value. That's why today you see that the practitioners themselves don't understand the kind of work they are doing. The government has not given the due attention to this industry, which like it should have sort of like. And that's what I'm saying, that even all that you've said, that the KCA is saying this, the mayor is saying this, it's because of the genesis that we have not had the right discussion.
Well,
Why?
the due diligence, because
Absolutely.
of the number of it employees.
Now that's what I'm saying, because we have clouded our eyes.
Informal sector,
absolutely. Now that's where I'm coming. That because of the informalities in the border industry, we have denied them a chance of a good discussion. And that's why they are suffering, that's why they are where they are, because of the informalities of the work. But I try to relate it to industrialization. You see the order and the organization because of the formality there. That it is much formal, it has processes, a company will get, an investor will come, they will register, they pay taxes. But the people they employ, who are not even probably, because how many industries in, even if you get all the industries in the industrial park, let's say Namave, do they employ the number of people borders are employing? Let's talk about the issues of taxation or earnings. Is there anyone in an industry, casual, let's talk about casual workers, who earns like a border earns? Now that's what I'm saying, that we have not, I think the starting point is that let's have the right category of these people so we can have the right discussions, which we are not doing. Today we are treating border people as a by the way, as you've said, because you know they are informal. That is what is in the mind of sadly the leaders. They look at them as uneducated, chaotic, thieves, dirty, just to mention but a few. But because of this, what we see prima facie, the face of it has denied a good discussion about the border industry. Uganda today has one of the biggest challenges of Uganda, I won't even say government, because it trickles down to affect us individually, is unemployment.
Yes.
Now, when you realize an opportunity of something that you invest in very less or even nothing as government.
Nothing. Because maybe security. But what happens is, this is a person imports these motorbikes. There is a workforce ready to take on these motorbikes, either purchase them
at their own cost.
At their own cost.
That's the thing. Now,
or drive or ride them on loans and still
at their
pay.
own cost.
So government is taking taxation, because at importation, these factories, the branches of Bajaj, branches of TVS, all these motorbikes, government is getting tax.
Now this is what I'm saying, that I think we need to bring this to light, probably for purposes of government to interest themselves, and this is the kind of discussion they need to have, that the challenges of borders in this country cannot be dealt with if you don't accept to have the beginning conversation of looking at it as an industry, a standalone industry, not a by the way practice. One, when you look at it as an industry, you create procedures for it. Procedures to not to manage it, but to administer. The problem with some of these, and the challenge, that's why you see the likes of the Lord Mayor is running to court against his own minister. He's talking about registration, calling it illegal, because the issue, these people want to manage this industry without giving it time to understand it. Rather, they should be having ways to administratively assist them. When you want a job, let's say in public service, there are processes. You must have probably their qualifications they give, there are procedures, you fill forms, you do tests, you do interviews, how many times, whatever, except for a few who are lucky, who do it's called what? A jump shot. But that's very, very few if they are there anyway. But if you want to understand the border issue, create administrative sectors. Not to manage them, but to assist. And that's been the biggest problem. If you remember, you've done these things, riding and what. If people come to impose on you, that's different, rather than helping you administer. Now, the registration of border borders coming from government, they want to register them. But the people who want to register, one, as I've told you, remember the other, we are not having the right discussion. We are not looking at them as, we are looking at them as...
Because government's first move was, let's register them. And how are they going to do this? These border people have stages. Let's ensure that we register them, know their population, gazette stages, then after gazetting stages, know that on such a stage there are these, we have these stages in Kampala, we must have this capacity of numbers, ensure they have the permits.
Now, that is
let
what
them
I'm saying.
vote for their leadership.
That is what I'm
going
saying.
to go electing
that
until
is
the top.
management vis-a-vis administration. The government wants to manage the border, and now they are calling it a crisis. They are managing the border crisis lately. But you have not done any administrative preparation for these people. All the things you've read, I hear they want 130 stages, 32 stages. That is now managing. Yet they did not help in admin.
How would you've explained the management issue. Now let's go to how would they
help in administration.
First
of all, let's look at the procedures. Who is entitled to have a border? Is it anyone?
Anyone who can afford.
Now, that is a wrong start. It means you're going to have the right instrument in the wrong hands.
If you can buy one, either it is yours or you get someone who
and
can.
That's what I'm saying. If you want to administer, that's why if you want to administer, to have good administration in a particular institution, you create procedures, processes. Who can acquire? Do they put a TIN number on someone's when they buy? Like these are ways all to help curb. The president continuously has been crying out, saying, "Man, let's register the number plates. Let's do these things. Let's put chips and all this." Those are some of the ways we can, so that we know who is in this business, who is buying. Now, secondly, who is allowed to ride? When you say that you're going to register people, but let's say you want 10 people, but you on your end, as government, you're receiving revenue of 1 million. Is that fair? Isn't that that could turn out to be theft? You're saying you don't want these borders in town, but for you don't care who's buying. All you care about if they are buying to keep in their ceilings, as long as you're receiving the revenue, you only want. Now, it means that you're promoting shady work. I don't know if you get it. It's not a one-off. It's not a one-off that I just want 13 people in town, I want 12 here. No. It's something you must invest in from the beginning. Who is buying? When you see a border in town, can you attach it to Kirabo? When you see a number plate, can you attach it to Kirabo?
You move
at time
around,
of
who
purchase,
purchased, then who handed over.
Just like you see a car, that when you see a car number plate, even on its third party, it has, which most recent are also wrong, because now when you go to renew, they just tell you to take a car. But it's easy to trace a number plate. Now, let's start it there, so that it is not anyone can acquire. Someone must be qualified to acquire such, so we can trace back. Third, is there any qualification for this job?
As long as
away from the permit, these are different things. Getting a permit, you may be, I don't know, the qualifications could be Ugandan and able to ride. But now the job, those are different things. Just like when you're going to drive a taxi, it's not enough for you to have a driving license, a normal. I think it is a class. There's a class.
Yes.
So are the people going to do the border? Is it a matter of them getting a license, or is there a qualification? Because they are going to carry people, they are carrying our children, they are carrying old people, they are riding on roads that are not, all these things. Is it just a matter of getting a license? Is that the only qualification needed? We are trying to put administrative, not to manage. But let's put administrative. Now, after that, then we shall go to the issue of registration, and then we can. And people should be given an opportunity to apply for these stages. Because you may place me there when I want. People who don't even want to be in Kampala, it's not a big deal. So, because I think for me, what I see in this is that we are having a great friction between administrative and management.
Well said that. I want us also now to move to what is being put in place. Is it practical? Because when they came up with stages, border riders, first they were told there is an area where we don't want borders. For example, if you're coming to UBC, borders were expected to end at around Wampeo roundabout. So if you're coming here,
just down here,
just down there, okay. You either get a taxi, you move on foot, but borders were not allowed in Nile Avenue around. So here we saw borders, people arguing. Then there were the proposal, you don't cross from one division to the other. If you pick me from Rubaga, then when you reach Central, you either hand me to someone within the Central.
And what was the rationality of that?
Security purposes, because you have your own jacket that clearly states you're working in Rubaga, your stage number, and your name on top, and a code on that jacket. So handing over, because they were believing that if you come from Rubaga, you ride someone from Rubaga, you're crossing 3 divisions, we have few stages. What about those working in these divisions? That was also one of the arguments. Then the stages, who are saying if you have 5,790 stages in the division of Kampala, where you have, and each stage you're looking at about a maximum of 50 people, where you have over 20,000 borders. So what, and they are working in Kampala. The assumption that the rest are going to go in the outskirts may not work, because some stay there, they have to pick, maybe they drop their children and come back. So this person, if you tell them go to Wachiso, a person stays in Rubaga, maybe at around 4 they pick their child. I know with border work, someone can tell you as far as take me this far, take me that far. So, and also an issue of the border people not being involved in all this. They felt it was technical people who may not understand the industry very well, and plus a bit of political leadership coming up with these. Do you feel that these interventions, much as they may seem good, are they practical, are they real, given the situation at hand?
I think most of the times for academicians, we say you must have a pretext before you want to actualize your text. You must pretext. I'm assuming that the institutions like KCCA have done a bit of research before they come up with such ideas, or call them avenues in trying to assist. But you see, if we are to look at one by one from what you highlighted, and I may choose to start with the aspect of gazetting particular stages, it's the best way to go. Why? It's the best way to look to be able to have control. If you're going to have control. Secondly, order. But also it makes enforcement easy. You know where to find Robert. Because you know that Robert probably has Nile Avenue, BC stage, or whatever. You know. Now, it is not enough though that you can't prove permanency. What if the stage you want Kirabo to be on doesn't give him the target of the day? And secondly, we must also not forget the nature of this business we are discussing. How many times have you walked to a border stage?
I just stand anywhere and they'll find.
I remember the time when I used to use borders oftenly. I still use them, but when I used to use them oftenly, I would prefer moving border to a one in stage because it was cheaper. I don't know if it's a practice for many other people, that the one moving is usually cheap. Where the one of the stage will take you 5,000, this one will take you for 3,000. So the practicability of such things. Are you going to keep these guys there the whole day and not seeing anyone? Like you don't think far from the actual practice of the business. And that brings into play what you say, that how involved are these stakeholders, the primary stakeholders, the border riders, in all these processes? Like, for example, when you're choosing the stages, have you asked them the prime areas that they can suggest? But or you're going to say that you're going to put a border stage at UBC, yet everyone in UBC has a car. For example, people are stationed at work. When someone enters an engineer here at 8, they will leave at 9 in the night. You get it? So we must keep that alive, that the practicability of the business is not by far, it has its own challenges, ways around this kind of work. But the other one, and which I must quite address with vividness, is the aspect of involvement. If you want this to be sustainable, we must have these guys on board. We must have them on board. It is painful. Actually, if you start talking about the bad things about borders, you won't even stop. But the truth of the matter is that it's now a sweet sour pill. It's a good problem we have to live with. Because, okay, after you say you're going to remove some point in Kampala, you only want, say, 7,000 people?
Stages about...
no, but the riders, you said 7,000.
About 7,000.
But yet the whole Kampala has about 20-something thousand. How about the 13,000? You get the point? So all these, we must put them in actual context. But if, as I said earlier, we must have some... away from just the orders of the minister, the directives and the RCCs, how do we help these people also? How does government own this industry away from just, as I told you earlier, managing it? But what is the input? You get it?
Apart from saying after organizing you, we are going to begin paying road user fee.
That is the border people to start paying.
Yes, start paying border.
Now,
after all permit registration, then you've gone for the mental checkup, because also a requirement. Yes, yes.
I think they
medical checkup.
Yeah.
Then from the medical checkup, if you've passed and everything is in place, then there will be user fee, because for border riders to pay, because they believe these people are working in Kampala and they are not paying anything.
Which is very fine.
They're using our roads.
I think I'm not against anyone who's paying back to government any form of money. But what is the input of government away from saying we built the roads? You get it? That's why I told you that the whole discussion is going to always take us back to the issue of administration and managing. Now, government is coming in to try and manage. And this is not what they... Actually, it's going to end up like clamping or blocking new entrants in this business or this industry, as we said earlier. But we need to start helping them to administer this industry, this very good institution that has helped us create lots of jobs and lots of course, survival for many other people. We have had a very big issue. One of the reasons government gives is the continuous accidents and abuse of roads and all these things. This is not, I heard one of the testimonies by one person who said that one time there was a car, I think these fuel tanks, that had issues that was leaking. Now a border guy, I think, bypassed it. I don't know what they do with that. They put it on the chorus. Is it and the tarmac, is it? And I think it brought sparks of light. Sparks. And the car was up in flames. That among very many other stories all of you have about border people.
Many Ugandans have at least
a story.
A bad story or a good story. But I've also, on the other side, Felix, there is one thing I've noted. If there is any group of people using the road that are good at rescue services, other border people. An accident happens, people just put up their mirrors and they are passing. The border people will strive to get that person.
I remember sadly about the Katumba incident.
Yes, you see people even in government plates.
Actually, sadly, government number plates were bypassing.
And these border guys did the saving. There's so much bad, but there's also
that's
something.
Just one among the many that we have only been able to see.
Yes.
But they do this on a daily. They have easy lives for people, by the way. But as I've told you, the only challenge is not actually, by the way, if you were to give portions, it is not by far their problem. It is by far lack of administration. That had there been formidable and good administration of this industry, we would be reaping more than what we are. That's why I'm telling you that who is buying? Like you said earlier, all it needs is to have a border. The next thing, whether they have a license or not, you'll what? As long as you know how to start on the road.
Things have been made very simple. Even if you don't have a penny,
you can go for
a loan,
hire purchase,
as long as there are people who can recommend you. And Felix, I want also us to look at two areas: one, conflict of interest, and politics. Since 2020, you see, most of the times when we're discussing the border industry, we are discussing this person that sits on the motorcycle. But this industry is very complicated. One, it has right from the investors that bring in these motorcycles. That whenever you want to touch this, it has an impact. If a person on daily has been selling about 500 motorbikes on daily basis, and any measure you're taking is going to affect their sales, these people are a party to the decisions. Then you have politicians whose fame has risen and rode on the existence of border. That every time you want to touch this industry and they feel it is going to have an effect or an impact on their vote, they come up. I was shocked recently when the minister became so vocal, Chofato Gabie. Had big shots who is behind this group. That is when we began to understand. When you see a T at the back, it is so and so. I saw the likes of names I may not mention going on media now coming up talking about border issues, fighting for borders. I was like, Jesus, we thought they are ordinary Ugandans. Now he says, no, I have shares in this, Every year we give about 1 million borders to people on loan. Now you're coming up, we pay this amount of tax. Conflict of interest and politics.
Well, truth be told, politics is a part of every man's life, and it's not even strange that we are all political animals, so we're definitely affected by politics. And the worst bit of the same probably would be the most effect comes in by who is playing the politics and how they're playing it. Politicians will always be politicians. Like when you read that the Honorable Lord Mayor runs to court in fight over border registration, the face of that statement will make you feel like, what do these people want? You get it? The minister is saying let's register, the mayor is saying we want to get an injunction against this. Now, I don't know how many people politicians feed in this country. And I think we need to get real when sometimes we're talking about issues like this. I don't know how many people are aided purposes of medical attention by politicians. You get it? Order doesn't need any sort of direction from politicians, because I think people in this business are mature to be able to assess what's good for their industry and what's not good. And I think we just have to have a fair balance about the true facts and attributes of this industry. If registration, and I must emphasize this, is to break down the industry, that doesn't even only have to be said by a politician. They're just being used as a mouthpiece. You could say that, I could say that, any other person could see it, okay? But if we're talking about registration as a tool to put in order this business, we can also see it.
No politician would let people lose jobs.
Yes. For example,
no matter if it isn't
yeah, that is it. Because at the end of the day, I mean, there's some things we need to just see and be able to judge just plainly. When something is good, it is definitely good, and you can't pedal around it.
Briefly, sorry to interject. We'll talk about border. It reminds me when we wanted vendors off our streets. You know, it was good for the city to look good, orderly and all that. But still had voices that were feeling this wasn't really a thing to do. Where are you taking them? How do you want them to survive? What will they feed their children? They have educated children on these streets, and now you're coming in. So you see political influence. When they were working on the old tax park, politicians temuna jemulaga, temuvaawo wano, fetujja bakuumirawo. As the politicians felt they're standing in solidarity with the people they represent.
You see, and that's where we get it wrong. If we go back to define the words like solidarity, we would be insulting the authors of that grammar. That, you see, I really fear to use such words, but politicians are the worst people you ever want to rely on. And I can give you a billion examples, and not only in Uganda, by the way, world over. So if you want to focus on any issues of development, go and look at monarchies vis-a-vis countries that have democracies in terms of development. So politicians have their roles to make laws, to help us, organize us technically up there. But we need to be real. And for me, if you're today having a discussion about border borders, we just have question and answer, Q&A. One, do we need this? Does it help the border borders? It's a yes or no. Is registration good? There's no science in it, by the way, because registration is registration. It's a government to know who's doing this job, where they're doing it from, what are they earning. So, purpose of registration, I can just give you 3 or 4 in terms of government. One, to plan. It's key, by the way. Okay? It helps us also to look at budgetary allocations. 4, it helps us to also increase the revenue of the country. But the 4th major one, and this is for me the last one, is to create valuable, sensible employment. You get it? Away from just looking at it as a casual practice, but sensible employment that will be able to turn our people from whatever they have been to something better. As today you're talking a lot about a middle income, the government.
Find how we kind of formalize what they are doing.
And you see, that's what I'm saying. That
and help them, because they're better organized.
Absolutely.
Help them. If you're giving loans, if you're thinking about the government fee.
For example, can a border man walk into one of the big banks to get a loan? But when you're registered with Kirabo or with government, that is credibility already.
You're registered, you're organized.
You have a license, you have a TIN number, you can go and get a loan. You can get support. Money is, for the opportunities where money is, you can be able to access this kind of money. So what I'm saying is that all these processes are good, and I know they are well thought, but let us not have government impose itself. The other thing we're talking about, manage. Don't come in to manage the border, because that's different. But let's be a part of administrative procedures of this particular industry, and that's the only way we're going to grow it. These are not our enemies, by the way. Most recently, we have painted border as enemies. They have their challenges.
Because of the insecurity, the indiscipline.
And that disorder. Again, once you go to the tail of the indiscipline, tail of robbery, it will go back to still these institutions that they missed to do something somewhere. And that's my honest opinion.
Well, one time one person said borders are a necessary evil.
They're a good problem.
Felix says they're a good problem. One will tell you go to all these casualty words. What was the cause of accident? Border. Who dominate? Border. But at the end of the day, this is one of the areas that is fighting unemployment in our country. How do we formalize this? How do we create a conducive environment for them to strive better, to contribute more to national development, is what we are discussing today. So much has been said, so much has been tried, but all in vain. Even currently, there is an attempt to ensure they regulate this sector so that we can gain from it. They can also have better working conditions. The question is this achievable? Have we learned anything from the previous attempts that have not seen the light of day? We all want a proper city, well-planned, well-organized, and also accommodative, that people can come and make money, go back with what they have made in a secure environment. We pray and hope that we shall see a Kampala where this industry is well regulated, where also levels of criminality as a result of this border industry are also dealt with. And I liked what Felix said is, let's treat this as a serious industry. When we are debating, when we are coming up with policies, like we've given due diligence to tourism sector, investment sector, also the border sector is doing great as far as fighting unemployment. Have a lovely day. Ruben will be here to take you through sports update. God bless you. See you tomorrow.